Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video. Today we have the Insta360 One X2. Now this is of course a 360 camera that's capable of capturing so much around you. As compared to other action cameras where you kind of have to point and know what you're shooting, these 360 cameras have become so much more popular in the past years because of how much you can capture and the ease of using these cameras. A big thank you to Insta360 for sending me this camera. All the product links will be in the descriptions below. Now, I've always been jealous of all my friends that have these 360 cameras. I recently went on a ski trip and my friends just had these 360 cameras by GoPro and it was just so easy to capture so much around them, and I even got to try it out for myself. And just as I got back, Insta360 sent me this camera for this review. It was a bit of a shame that I couldn't bring it on the trip, but still it's a great camera to have and I'm looking forward to using it for my next trip. Now this is the second version of the Insta360 One. This is the X2 and the previous version was the X1. Now the main difference between these two models is that the newer version has an OLED touchscreen with a 360 live view, so you can scroll around the screen and kind of see all the different angles on this 360 camera. It's also waterproof up to 10 meters by itself, and of course if you buy a dive case you can increase that depth. It includes a 360-degree microphone which allows you to capture noises that are coming from different directions to give viewers a more immersive experience. Lastly, it comes with a larger battery allowing you to capture a lot more on your camera. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with 360 cameras, these cameras are basically cameras with 280-degree lenses on each side and internally stitches the two footages together, creating a 360 footage. Now inside the editing softwares, you can then reframe and adjust to where you want the camera to face and how you want it to move from one angle to another. This basically makes capturing footage a lot more easier as you don't have to worry about where the camera is facing. Now of course there are some limitations to this and some issues which I will get to at the end of the video. But first let's take a look at the unboxing of this camera. Now inside the box of course you get the Insta360 One X2 with the dual lenses on each side. It also comes with a circular screen for touch menu control and a live preview. There's also a quick start button at the bottom allowing you to quickly power up the camera and start recording immediately. Now as mentioned before, there is also a larger battery in this model. Now this battery takes up a significant portion of the camera, which really shows the improvement and how much Insta360 wants to keep this camera powered on so that you can capture more footage. Inside the battery compartment, you'll also find a slot for an SD card. Now there are certain SD cards recommended for capturing 360 footage and I'll leave them up here on the screen. Now there's also a USB port for data transferring and charging. But this USB-C port is also able to attach different accessories, all of which I'll explain later on in the video. Inside the accessory box, you also get a couple of data cables as well as a cover pouch. And of course, some warranty and manual information. Now Insta360 did also send me a whole bunch of accessories which I'm really grateful for, and the great thing about these cameras, these action cameras, is that there's so many accessories out there to better help you capture the footage that you want. Now one of the main things about 360 cameras is of course protecting these lenses. These lenses protrude out a lot and the best thing for you to do is find some way to protect them, either always having a cloth on standby or a case to cover it. But Insta360 also has these sticky lens guards that lets you cover the lenses with these acrylic shields, giving it an extra layer of protection. Now another integral part in these 360 cameras are the selfie sticks. Now these sticks allows you to extend the camera further away from you, allowing you to capture a lot more. The thing that's pretty standard among all these 360 cameras is to make this stick invisible. They do this by sort of deleting it in the stitching and some internal software. As you can see, I'm walking around here with the stick in my hand. It's kind of visible, but at the same time it's almost eliminated, so it gives you this kind of floating view where it's following you. This is especially useful when you're doing sport and you don't really want to see the selfie stick in your footage. So Insta360 did send me two different selfie sticks. One is the 1.2 meter selfie stick, which is the longest one that they have. The other is the tripod edition, which is slightly shorter but comes with an integrated tripod. Now the tripod edition is my favorite because it's the most versatile and easy to use. You can use it as a tripod just to stand it on a table or on the ground, or use it as a normal selfie stick. Another one of their accessories is called the bullet time cord. It's basically a device that has a coiled up cable here that's able to extend and retract, making this really easy to bring around. All you have to do is attach the camera to the end over here and swing it round and round. It's a pretty niche effect but kind of fun to do at the same time. So right here I have my friend Linus on the skateboard. He's going to do a trick and try to swing this camera around him. Now, from his feedback, it's pretty difficult to do both at the same time, but the footage that you get out from it is pretty unique and also at the same time pretty niche. So I wouldn't say you would use this all the time, but it's something pretty cool. So like I said earlier in the video, there are a couple of attachments that you can attach to the USB-C port. The first of which is a quick reader. This is basically an SD card reader that acts as an external storage device to extract your files and store it on a separate SD card in case your camera gets full. Or it can be used as a reader to read your existing SD card and transfer it to your phone. Now this is a much faster way to access and edit your footage on your phone as compared to doing it wirelessly via the app. Now another adapter is the mic adapter, which allows you to connect a 3.5mm external mic for you to record higher quality audio. Now this is great for vloggers or anyone who wants to record audio through an external microphone. Now that we've covered all the accessories and the components of the camera, let's talk about the usages of this camera. Now first of all, it's a really useful vlogging tool. Now if you're traveling or going about your daily life, this is a really convenient tool to use. This camera is really small and compact and discreet, and it captures a lot more around you, especially when there's fast moving things happening and you want to capture everything. This is a lot more useful than a standard camera. Now another type of shot that I tried, which would be more of an action sports kind of thing, would be attaching it to a fast moving object, which in this case was my friend's motorcycle. Now we did a really janky job of just, taping it to the back of his motorbike, but it did capture a lot of interesting footage both in the daytime and the nighttime. Now in the daytime, of course, everything's really clear and you can see everything around, but it's also not too bad in the nighttime. Now I would say using a 360 camera in the nighttime isn't the best thing, but it's still pretty decent on the Insta360 camera. Now going back to the bike shot, now this was a really long journey. It took about 20 minutes of footage and it was just a bit too long, and what I realized that you could do inside the app was to create this into a hyperlapse. Now there's two ways to make a hyperlapse. One is to firstly record it in that mode, the hyperlapse mode, and the other way is to speed it up in post. And I decided to speed it up in post in the software, and it turned out to look pretty cool. Now speaking of the editing softwares, there's of course two different ways. One is via the mobile app and the other one is on a desktop app. Now personally, as a videographer, I prefer the desktop app, but I was surprised that the mobile app is also pretty useful. One of my favorite features inside the mobile app is the auto tracking feature. As you can see on the bouldering wall while we are climbing about, it's actually really difficult to just keep reframing different shots as I follow myself up the wall. Instead, using this auto tracking feature was a lot more simpler. The app did everything for me and the footage turned out really nice. Now last of all, it is important for me to explain the difficulties in using these 360 cameras and its downsides. Now first of all, when using the editing software, I did notice that certain movements became really jittery, especially when you're moving the frame of the camera while some object is moving as well. Now I did speak to Insta360 and they did not really have a definite answer for this, but in their defense, this also did happen in the GoPro 360 cameras, and I think it's just a limitation in these cameras. The other thing about 360 cameras is that the file sizes are huge. I mean, really huge. What you're capturing is a couple of camera angles all into one file, so it's going to take up a lot of your SD card space. So I recommend getting a larger capacity SD card and of course only capturing the footage that you need instead of leaving your camera on and recording as you might do with your other cameras. Now the last thing I would say about these 360 cameras is that some of the stitching in the two camera lenses can still be seen in the footage. Now this is something of course that they're always trying to improve and of course update their firmware, but this still can be seen in most of these cameras, so it is a slight limitation but not really very obvious. So that's all I have to say about the Insta360 One X2. It's a really useful camera, it's really great, it's really small and portable, and I can see myself using it a lot more for traveling or for doing action sports. But if you guys have any questions, do leave it in the comments below. I'll try my best to answer them. I'll leave all the product links in the description below as usual. But like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.